Hello and welcome to the Subvert Podcast, your entry to the journey of the land of no easy answers, attempting to unravel the vagaries of the mind.
We're gonna talk ghost stories today, people.
What? Or not ghost stories, or as the case may be.
Supernatural experiences, perhaps.
Thank you for joining us on the Subvert Podcast. I'm Aaron Stewart. This is always Kristin and Aaron.
Hello.
Smash that subscribe. It's right there, down below, somewhere in there.
Come on, click
Subscribe it.
You know you want to.
We'll give you our requisite, mandatory 30 seconds. I'm just kidding.
Hit the subscribe button right now.
We won't keep going until you hit subscribe. It's just, we got to keep...
They're like, okay, fine. They've turned it off.
Yeah, exactly. We're contractually obligated to make you sit here until you hit subscribe. So
Our shareholders have said if we don't get at least, 1,000 subscribers every episode, we're being cut off. They're going to start taking away our set furniture.
Puppets. They will take away puppets. They will remove one eye at a time. It's just going to be gruesome. There's going to be just little bits of puppets everywhere.
You don't want that on your conscience, do you? Can you live with yourself? The poor puppets.
Then we'd have the ghosts of puppets wandering around our set all the time. It'd just be them floating through the...
What a great tie-in to today's topic, Aaron. Wow.
We dismantled the puppets, and now we have puppet ghosts.
All
I'm
right.
going to have to paint them all white, aren't I?
Logistically, I don't know how we're going to make this.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'll just cover them with flour, I guess. I don't know. Figure something out.
But we are talking ghosts today.
Indeed.
Or specifically, I guess, negative energy and supernatural experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I think everyone either has had a personal experience or has talked to somebody that has. And Lord knows there's an entire genre out there of horror movies and supernatural movies.
And
so
like 80 different reality TV series that have never found anything. I mean, it's,
yeah. So it's an interesting thing we kind of wanted to get into a little bit. And, is there anything to it? And, how to maybe get into these types of conversations if you're someone that does believe and you're talking to someone that doesn't, and vice versa, or if you've had shared experiences. Do you think there's such a thing as energy that lives on that can be picked up or perceived by those of us that are still here? I think Aaron had a stroke.
Let me think about that one for a while. And so, yeah, I don't think there's any way for like our stuff to hold on to things, but I do feel that, in a way, we can kind of hear each other to an extent. Mm-hmm. So my only thing on ghosts is that like everybody seems to forget that this world is like hurtling through space at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And the idea that these ghosts, once they lose a physical form to hold on to, could somehow stay somewhere.
Or want to.
Or would want to, right? If you had the entirety of the universe to go explore, right? Like,
yeah.
I'm not bound to this thing anymore, right? Like, but I feel really mad about how they stomp on my toe, right? Like... or I really want to say to my grandson that he should stop masturbating so much.
I feel like if you're seeing ghosts while you're masturbating, that's probably a whole other thing. Or maybe ghosts are really pervy. Who knows?
Who knows, right? Or even like, if like the idea that murderers come back and the ghosts can help to avenge their, right? Like it's prevalent, but there's never been a case solved by a detective and a ghost before, right? Like the news conference would be great, right? I mean, he's not here right now, but he's, if he were here, you'd be able to see the ghost who really helped me to clear this murder here, right? I mean, I'd love to see that one. That would be great, right? Like, no, he'll show up. Just wait till midnight. He only shows up at midnight. It's just this thing, But so the idea though that like places like Auschwitz, places where there have been truly horrific things going on, that they still hold that kind of psychic aura to them, where people can walk into them and feel that kind of chill kind of thing, right? Whether that's tied to the place itself or to
the expectation one might have whilst being
Exactly,
there.
while knowing that you're going to Auschwitz and all these people died and all these things piled up in the back of your head, whether that would create those scenarios for your brain to play out. You know, would make you feel that sense of dread, would make you, you know, that sense of, you know, I'm standing in a place of history kind of thing, you know, make you, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, the expectation of it, I think, would drive most of that.
I mean, maybe there's the argument there could be a little bit of both, right? Like if there is a very concentrated amount of evil that happened in one place, you know, maybe that does take some time to dissipate that energy. And whether there's actual individuals there that you can interact with is, you know, arguable. But I think if a lot of unspeakable things have happened in a place, then maybe it could just dissipate. At what rate, we don't know. So therefore, it's possible. That's my
Well,
opinion.
I mean, if you also think of, you know, a ghost would probably live outside of time, you would think too, right? So they would be able to kind of move forward and backward, you'd think, if they didn't have anything to tie them to, right? I mean, although realistically, once you lose physical form, you're probably just thrown about and you get no say in the matter, right?
Yeah.
But if you did, right? You know, if you were, you know, a ghost able to travel through time and space, right? Like, again, the idea that you would stay there, right? I mean, I think a lot of what we feel there is, like you said, the expectation of, but it's also a feeling that, you know, a lot of reality around us seems to be kind of built by our brains, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so those shared experiences to an extent, I think, are felt, you know, not just, you know, something where we can talk to each other, where we can show each other's pictures and stories of these things, but if you're feeling that and you're conveying that to someone else, I think they catch pieces of that, right, to an extent, you know. So whether that ghost is an external thing that you're seeing or whether it's a manifestation through your own brain that's just, you know, something that you're, like, it's like pain. It's not felt here, it's actually felt in your brain. Right? So the same thing as a ghost wouldn't actually be something outside there that you could actually, but is a projection created here through some other, you know, manifestation or expectation or just,
Yeah.
you know, your brain just going, hey, that'd be cool.
Of course, I mean, like, our brains are capable of wonderful, miraculous things. We can literally, like you said, we can create reality however we want to. So if we simply think we want to see something or experience something, we can make that our own reality.
Well, okay, and now having said that, though, there are 80 reality shows out there that have been searching for ghosts, and if there's any kind of concentrated effort to make a ghost manifest, that would be the one, and they still haven't found one yet. So that, I think, would probably disqualify my argument right there. Anyway.
We also have, I mean, like, because there are things, like, everyone knows this, we only live within a very limited scope of what actually exists, you know, like what we can see, what we can hear, what we can feel, touch, smell. All of this is such a narrow thing of what actually exists within our own world, let alone universe. So
My
it's
all-seeing
not...
eye sees all. I have told you this. Do not foist your limitations on my all-seeing eye.
So it's definitely not just like a theory that things exist outside of our perception. It's actually a fact that things do exist. We simply just can't pick up on them. That being said, there are certain tools that can detect when there is energy that is occurring that we simply can't perceive within our current forms. So whether that means ghosts or paranormal or supernatural or just simply other planes of existence that we mathematically, you know, will probably be able to get there, but as of right now, we just don't know what it is. And so we're labeling it as scary and other and paranormal. But, you know, we can pick up on it. So I think it's like we should be open to the idea. And I think there is a lot of projection involved when we're saying it's people that have passed and we're now personifying the other, the thing that we can't explain as, you know, either acts of evil or, you know, maybe it is loved ones coming back. Maybe it is ghosts that are coming to haunt us. We don't actually know. Or maybe it's just something else. Maybe there's a whole other world of other beings in existence that are coexisting in the same space as us, but in different planes.
See, I was
You know
just
what I
sitting
mean?
and
I don't
thinking
know.
they've apparently found that there's a mirror universe to ours that travels backward in time. And I was just thinking, like, what if, so now the multiple universe idea that kind of every decision creates a bubble universe off of. And I was just thinking, and what if each one of those is traveling backward? And maybe that's why we have this forward momentum to things, because the opposite of our universe goes backward. And so we have the forward, and every decision creates that backward. And that's why ghosts don't come into the future. You only see them kind of past.
Ooh.
Because I was just like, it would be tough for the energy to manifest itself forward, but to go backward, right?
So would that be true of the opposite as well, that they only see future ghosts?
Ooh. But just, yeah, like I was thinking, because they've shown that apparently there is a universe running parallel to ours that goes backwards. And I was just wondering if maybe that might be, so not just one, but multiple ones that are created off of. And so each instance is essentially a new universe going backward, like a ripple coming off of it, but going backwards.
Whoa, man.
Brains. This is the problem with reading a lot of this stuff. It just makes me think about stuff. And then I go, hey, what about that? And I go, fuck. Right? Well, now I got to think about that too. God. Right? Now I got to think about backwards universes.
There's so many like different types of explanations to, like, and for sure, yeah, like multiverse theory and,
that's why
we
you
have no
can't
idea.
detect them here, is because it happened in the past. I mean.
But you get kind of like residual energy signatures.
Yeah.
Well,
and again, that might be something carried with us instead of it actually being part of the physical, like being, tied to this chair that someone sat in and died in or whatever.
Yeah.
But tied
the
to
haunted chair.
But tied to, you knew that person died there, and so there's just that little bit of just that sense in the back of your head. Mm-hmm. Not anything physical here, but a mental and emotional kind of feeling. Mm-hmm. Thing that would manifest into that feeling of dread or that feeling of. Right, mm-hmm. Whatever you're expecting to feel, right?
Now, what if energy could get into that chair?
Well, now, so that's actually, so that would be an experiment, right?
Yeah.
Like, you bring someone to your house, you say, don't sit there, that's Grandpa's chair, he died there 3 years ago, and anybody that sits in there gets a real heebie-jeebie, mm-hmm. right? So now, whether that's true or not, does that, in that person's head, make that chair haunted?
Well, maybe.
Right? Like, can you make things have that feeling without it ever, right? Like this watch here was worn by, right? The
well,
gangster,
that's like
and he was
placebo
murdered
effect. You can put the idea in people's heads and they can, essentially believe anything. There's a lot of instances of people that do just pick up on things that are totally unprovoked, that they don't have any preface towards, like there will be people that, can call themselves, like energy empaths or mediums or whatever it is, that can just go in and be like, there's something weird attached to this, good, bad, whatever it is, right?
See, I have that with people where I can generally get a feeling for, like, I've walked into a room before and been like, okay, what's going on? Right? And then had the person turn around and be like, it's all fine. Like, oh, shit, okay. Right? Like, but that again is tied to a person and not a thing.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm wondering whether it's the animus behind us that allows us to actually have these connections to each other. And again, whether that connection is severed once we move on. Again, once we start to move backward. There we go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do think we have the innate ability to be able to read energy and to pick up on energy. And I think that's something that, we have kind of suppressed within ourselves. For whatever reason, I don't know. But I do think we are meant to be open to it, and I think we are actually meant to probably communicate with each other and different energy in the universe. I do think we have that ability kind of within us to be connected. Mm-hmm. So maybe these experiences are just little snapshots of otherly connection with our backward selves.
Well, and I was reading a while ago, and I want to do more research into this actually, about the magnetic nodes inside our head that might allow us to actually feel each other's electromagnetic fields, right?
Well, because I'm sure everyone's had that experience. Like you said, you walk into a room and you just get overwhelming vibes, either good or bad. you know, it's a very shared experience, I think. And like we've talked about on previous episodes, you know, there's energy healers, there is measurable energy that can, you know, be taken from someone that's performing, say, like Reiki work and things like this. So we can actually scientifically prove that we're able to emanate energy fields. So when we kind of just suppress this idea that we can emanate it, but we can't read it from each other.
Or absorb it, or
You
use
know?
it, or, yeah, right. And I mean, so I've studied a bit of Qigong, and the idea of Qigong is that you can essentially move your energy throughout your body. And so when you're throwing, like, if you want to say jab someone with your finger, you're essentially taking all of the energy from your foot and gathering it all through your body and concentrating it into the tip of your finger, right? So that it's not just, you're not just going, you're actually concentrating the entirety of you into this poof, you know? And so the idea that you can now move energy around, if you say had some imbalance or whatever, that you could actually have control over moving things around and actually like changing, like not just thoughts, but, you know, just energy fields around you to be able to create positivity or negativity if you wanted to, right? You know, something that, you know, like you said, we have this idea that we're just passive observers of this thing instead of it being something that we actually had some control over or being able to actually use in some way, right? You know, cultivating these empaths, cultivating these you know, hypersensitive people to be able to actually use that capability in some way, to actually harness it in some way instead of it just being some sort of mostly curse.
Yeah.
Right? Like, great, I get to feel when everybody's sad. Awesome. Right?
Yay.
Like, woo, and I get to be that person that everybody gets to talk to when they're sad. Yay.
Best superpower ever.
Exactly, right? Like, oh, I get to know when everybody's upset. Awesome. Just what I wanted. You know? You know, and then, you know, just the implications of, you know, how would that look if you were actually be able to have control over that kind of thing? Like, could you make people feel happier? Right? Like, could you push, you know, happiness or sadness, you know, onto other people?
Well, there's plenty of studies that prove that is true.
I mean, we're doing it right now to you, aren't we?
Aren't you happier just watching us?
Next 5 minutes of us just laughing.
Oh, that's evil laughter.
Oh, sorry. Right. I was doing
Why do we always go back to?
Excellent.
Where's the cat?
He's plotting our imminent. Anyway. Yeah. So, and that's you know, land of no easy answers. I mean, again, I don't feel like there's no way. Like it just feels like something that we haven't figured out yet. There's got to be some sort of connection that we're missing, because it does feel like there's just something, you know. And like I said, that idea that once you're like, you move forward while you're here, and then as soon as we end, we go backward. That makes sense to me. Where you're just kind of pulled away
Oh,
from.
so you're just on a track constantly?
Yeah.
And then you reach the end of that one, you go forward again?
Or it just pulls you out of, and then kind of like, again, I don't know that you may not have control over where you go right from the start, because I just feel like the chaos of the universe would just kind of pull you, right?
Sure, yeah.
But if at some point you could have any kind of like, okay, here we go, right, and try to jump back in somewhere, like going through this loop, right, and just being like, okay, here we go, right, just waiting for that canal to open, and you get to birth out into a new you, right?
I mean, ultimately, we won't know until we get there. Or it could just be utter chaos, and maybe you do maybe you die, and then you pop back up, and you're stuck in whatever place you died, and you're like, oh shit, that was true this entire time.
Yeah. And that's the thing, nobody comes out, right? And that's why the first 5 years our brains don't remember anything, right? Is because if we did, we'd all be going like, no, I want to go back, right? And instead I got to look at you guys, what is going on here, right? Like, who knows, you know, maybe that's the whole process of this thing, right? Like, we get to accumulate all these memories, The universe pulls us out, sucks all our memories out of us, and spits us back into another body. Right?
Yeah.
Go accumulate more memories.
I mean, we could also just, I mean, at the end of the day, even our own consciousness is just energy too, right? Like, we could just dissipate and reassemble, you know, like maybe that's the entire thing of the universe, just dissipates and then reassembles, and it's different bits that assemble every time, and then they fall apart and assemble. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a very egotistical thing of all of us to be like, yes, our own consciousness will live on.
And that's, yeah,
but maybe
absolutely.
it just...
That's a great point to that thing, right? Like that absolutely, like, why would it be just me when I leave here? Why wouldn't I get mixed with everybody else? And instead of it being just me coming back out, that it's now a mix of all of us that were
primordial
now
soup
come back
orgy.
into, right? And so it's not just my memories that I'm losing, it's all of our memories.
Well, and not necessarily losing. I think maybe like the collective memory keeps building and then recombines.
Well, I mean, just like
and then
as I'm
that's
here,
how
you lose
grow.
you lose the universal memory, right? And then when we leave, we join back into, right?
Yeah.
And then you come back down here to have this little individual, right, slice of this little thing where we are stuck in this meat puppet, you know.
Yeah.
Meat puppet. I'm gonna have to make
Meat puppet.
I'm gonna have to make a meat puppet now, aren't I?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, you will.
You know, we're stuck in this thing. We wander around in our little stupid skeleton bodies, going da, 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 right? Like, we have this life, do 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 do, right? And then we get sucked back into the universal memory.
I mean, this life could also just be like a deformity, right? Like it could just be an accidental combination
This could be
of
prison
things.
for. Just think about that, right? Like, you know, we were this evolved creature, and we live as energy, and they keep sending us into these stupid bodies to be just like, fuck you.
I think I have said that before on the show.
Yeah,
It's like that is a theory of mine. I'm like, this is like prison in some other universe, or it's like
in a meat
elementary
body.
school or something like that. It's like elementary school is go live a human existence on Earth, and then come back to us, and now you've graduated grade 1.
Yeah, yeah. I like the idea of like the Harry Potter thing with the memory, where you go into the water,
yeah.
and then you kind of see that thing, and you can pull yourself out from it and go, oh wow, right? Like, I think that's a good metaphor for what it would be like, right? Like, you're just kind of going into this puddle of you, right? And then and then when that ends, you pull back out of this and go, oh shit, I'm sorry. Right? That's what that was like. Oh, dude.
Ugh.
And I had to poop and everything. Just always pooping. Just why? It's constant poop. Oh. Yeah. On that note.
Like every episode, we end on poop.
Yeah, so, you know, it's a good thing the ghosts don't poop, because this place would just be filling up. I mean,
Don't they, though? What is ectoplasm? If not ghost
maybe
poop?
that's the existential dread that people feel at Auschwitz, is just all of the collected ghost poop of millennia of ghosts that have, you know, been pooping there since they were trapped.
We always like to end on a very sensitive topic. Perfect.
Yes, it's a good thing we will never ever say anything that we regret. Never ever will anything that we say in these episodes ever come back to haunt us. Thank goodness. Phew.
Well, we haven't been canceled yet, so that's encouraging.
I don't know. It feels like they've tried a few times, but
That's true. Yeah, we're still here.
still here. Still here. And
Maybe not after that comment.
There's still more of you. Well, I mean, sure.
It's just a pile of ghost poop.
Kind of is.
You know, isn't everything in life.
Unfortunately, like, the problem is that, as with most of these things, we put it there, right?
Yeah,
I
fair
mean, we'd like to think it was the ghost's fault, but no, it was us. We made them in the first place.
All right. Well, let us know what you think. I would love to hear kind of your ghost stories if you've had like
Yeah,
crazy
absolutely.
experiences.
Bring your ghost stories. Come on, give us some scary ones.
Yeah,
I
love
had
those.
I had a buddy he swore that his house was haunted because every night at 11:17 or something, his toilet upstairs would flush.
All right.
Yeah, that's why he was convinced that his house was haunted. That's about as close to
Did
it.
he have upstairs neighbors?
Nope.
Okay.
No, and it was like,
we lived in an apartment.
and it was, you know, fair enough. Like, he was the only person, right? Like, everyone else was, you know, not around at that time, and it would always flush at the same time, whether there was anybody there or not.
Ghosts
But,
have to
you know,
poop too, as we just talked about. So
Yeah, you know, so that's about as close to no, that's not true, actually. I did. So when I was in China, I was riding my bike one day to we lived on kind of the outskirts of town, by like this complex of 150 unfinished buildings and our one finished building. So I had to ride my bike down there, and it was night, and over to that side, past the vegetable farmers, was a forest, essentially.
Speaking of ghosts.
Yeah. And as I was riding down there one night, I just remember kind of seeing out the corner of my eye people running through the trees, right? And I kind of looked over, and there was nobody there, right? And I was telling one of my translators about it the next day, and he was telling me about how there was a huge battle, like literally just over the trees to that was a monument to all these people that had died in this gigantic battle, right? And it was kind of one of those like, that's right, where he had never told me anything. I didn't know anything about that being there before that, right? But it was one of those times where my sensitivity caught up to me or something, where it was just kind of like, oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, that's about as close to a ghost I think as I've ever.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Probably gotten to.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, it was probably just the trees, and it just out of the corner of my eye, right? Like looked like, but yeah.
Well, that's it. I mean, we can justify things, and it could have been, but it also could have been other things too that we're just told, no, that's ridiculous, and you can't say that. Why not? Right? It could a whole wealth of possibilities exist. It could have been time running backwards.
My brain tapping into
idea.
who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway, we thought we were done with poop, but apparently we had ghost stories to tell.
We're never done with it. No. I know we started off saying it's a ghost stories episode, and we didn't tell a single ghost story until the end.
Yeah,
so
see?
There we are. We'll have to preface this one with like, stay till the end for an actual ghost story. The preamble is like half an hour long.
Well, I
until you
mean,
get some
right?
actual
Are any
ghost
of them
stories.
actual ghost stories? That's the question, I suppose. You know.
Well, they're experiences that people have had that are outside of their normal day-to-day perceptions of what reality is, and that's, you know, that can be a little bit shocking, and that leads our brains to be like, we've interpreted or we've encountered some new energy, and your brain's like, I don't know how to deal with this, and so either it creates an explanation in the form of a ghost story, or you actually did encounter maybe something paranormal, right? But either way, it's your brain has perceived something new and is trying to make sense of it, because that's what brains do.
For the most part.
For the most part.
When it's not
in everyone,
when
though.
it's not shredding my sanity for me, you know. Yeah, it's either building or shredding. It's one or the other. It's kind of.
And guys, I actually kid you not, there have been some very strange noises happening here this whole episode. Well, I'm like, I don't know if the mics have picked any of this up, but there have been a lot of bangings and strange things. So
You know, it's Sunday. People bang.
that's. Yes, perfect. It's Sunday, the banging day.
And on that note,
Perfect place to leave it.
yeah. So don't worry about that banging in your house. It's probably just the neighbors. Ghost. Thank you very much for listening. Every second we very much appreciate. You know, and you keep joining, and you've hit that subscribe button, right? You hit subscribe. That one right there. You hit it, right? Subscribe. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Find us. You know, we're gonna wrap this stuff up pretty quick here. We just need you to get your eyeballs on that stuff, so we have a reason to do it.
Get your balls on it.
We're starting to build, so get more balls. Bring your balls. Tell all your friends to bring their balls. We'll get all the balls on the tube.
Oh,
All
God.
our balls bouncing on the tube. That's what we're looking for. All the balls on the tube. Puppet, balls on the tube. See, that's it, right? It's perfect. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.